Hey, retro fans, welcome back to Retro Life for You, the podcast that dives into the neon soaked, pixel packed, and totally radical world of the 80s and 90s. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're reviewing. We're also revving up our engines and blasting off to Cybertron because we're talking about Transformers the movie, the 1986 animated classic that changed our Saturday mornings forever. And with me this week, we got a friend of the show, Marty. Travis he's where Travis is. He's at work.
Yep. Or he
We're doing this.
usually is.
We're doing this. We're doing this during the week, so Travis isn't available during the week. So we have our trusty standby, our trusty sidekick, our Decepticon in disguise.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Thanks for being with us again this week, Marty.
Yeah, no problem, Chris.
So, Transformers the movie, 1986. Big deal for all of us that was Transformer fans in that time back in the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Really excited about it when it came out, and I was told a funny little story about it. We had Neil Ross on recently with us, and he did a few of the voices. He did Springer. He did Hook and Bone Crusher. And,
Hook and Bone Crusher.
As far as the Constructicons go, and he was Slag from the Dinobots, and he was telling us that the movie was expected to do really well. They had a $6 million budget, but it only made $5.8 million at the theater. It kind of flopped. But the reason why it flopped is because after the opening weekend, after the opening night, basically, fans were going around and telling everybody else about Optimus Prime's death, and nobody wanted to go watch it.
Yeah.
They were mad. Fans were mad when they heard they killed Optimus Prime in the movie, and they wanted nothing.
I mean, in my own personal opinion, I really thought the battle between Megatron and Optimus was like the most incredible scenes out of the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my personal favorites. But when you see, Megatron throw that piece of metal and it hits Optimus and it hits him right in the grill, and then you seeing like all of his insides and everything, I was like, that's crazy.
Right. And that's where the infamous thing that that Peter Cullen gets asked to say so much when he's at the Comic Cons. I saw him at the Comic Con in Knoxville. I believe it was last year when I went that he was there, and during his panel he said it there as well, and he's asked to say all the time, the one shall stand, one shall fall.
Yeah.
That little small speech from that, and that's where we get that from, and that fight with Megatron. But that's where we lose him, though. At that point, people, like I said, very unhappy.
Yeah. But I mean, just for the first, 10 to 15 minutes of the very beginning of the movie, you're losing like Autobots and even Decepticons left and right. I mean, they're
right,
getting,
and that's something else.
Getting messed up.
Yeah, that's something else I wanted to bring up because if you're a fan of the G1, the G1 Transformers, the very first generation of Transformers, then you're not going to be very happy if you haven't seen this movie, because right off the bat, you lose Ironhide, who was a favorite with the fans of the show. Who was it with Ironhide? There was it wasn't Prowl. Was it Wheel? No, it wasn't Wheeljack.
I think it was.
Was it Wheeljack?
I think it was Wheeljack because I remember. It was Ratchet, because
Ratchet was there too.
Yeah, on the ship it was like Ratchet takes a full blast from Megatron's cannon, right to the chest, and his eyes just start smoking, and it just goes completely black, and you're like, dude.
But there was 3 of them on the bridge of the ship. There was Ratchet, there was Ironhide, and I think the other one might have been Wheeljack.
Yeah,
I'm not positive on that one.
I want to say it might have been whichever the one was the smaller truck, that always sometimes would haul around Optimus's trailer.
That was like what, Huffer or Huffy or
Uh,
something like that.
yeah, or something like that. But I want to say it was like those three, like just automatically got just killed off like right at the beginning.
Right.
So
Yeah, and they were sneaking in basically.
yeah,
They had overheard. Basically, the movie starts out. You get Laserbeak, who has been sent in to spy on what's going on, and he gets word back to Megatron that they're going to take a trip to Earth, to get some energon because they're low on energon. They cannot,
yeah, win the
make
war without
a
it.
full scale
Yeah,
attack of any kind. So they they basically hijack that ship, kill everybody that's on there, and they're going to sneak through the radar, under the radar, to get into the Autobot city down there on Earth. And then they get caught because Hot Rod and
and Spike's son,
I was trying to think of his name, but I can't. But his son, uh,
Daniel.
Daniel. There you
Daniel.
go.
Yeah.
They were going to this little lookout place to watch the ship come in. And as the kid's looking through the viewfinder thing, he sees a hole in the side of the ship.
Yeah, that was funny when Hot Rod's all like, "Why stop here, Daniel? When you can see everything from Lookout Mountain." So,
Yeah, and hey, if you're here in Tennessee like we are, Lookout Mountain's a real thing.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that,
yeah, yeah. If you ever if for anybody listening, if you ever go into Tennessee, if you go to Chattanooga, they got a place there, and there's a spot called Lookout Mountain, where you can see. I think it's 7 states. It says
yeah, yeah,
so. It's definitely a real deal for us. But they see them sneaking in. There's a hole in the ship, and Hot Rod zooms in on it and sees the Decepticons, and there starts firing on the ship, and that starts everything from right there. So now they're
yeah.
attacking.
That starts it. Yeah.
So you got what?
That starts like the big fight between the Autobots and the Decepticons. They're literally like right there at the city, and they're just like you see laser blasts going back and forth. Just
Right, and Prime is yet to get there. He doesn't know what's going on yet. They send a distress signal to him and just barely get the message off before they destroy the signal.
who is the boombox, the Autobot? He's like another version of Soundwave, but
Blaster,
he is it
Blaster.
Yeah, Blaster. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you had Blaster, you had Perceptor there, which was the microscope.
yeah,
You had Cup, Springer. No, not Cup. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Cup
Yeah,
was there.
Cup,
Springer was there. RC was there,
RC, yeah,
and then
and then
Hot Rod
Blur,
and
yeah,
Blur.
Blur, and then oh oh who's who's the other truck? But he's a car hauler. He was there too.
Ultra Magnus was there.
Ultra Magnus, yeah,
Yeah. And for those of you who watched it and you hear Blur speaking and you recognize that voice, that's the guy from the Micro Machine commercials. The one that could talk really fast.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they had a special role just for him on that. I guess just to get him in there. Anyway, big fight ensues. Optimus finally gets there. Just in the nick of time, basically. The Insecticons are chewing their way through the metal and everything in the
mhm.
base, getting in.
Yeah, because
Devastator's been formed, and they're
Devastator just ripped through the city like yeah,
right. So they get there just in time with the Dinobots, and they go and basically save the day temporarily, I guess. But we also lose, like I said, we lose Optimus at that time. Um, and they go from there. Now you also lose Megatron basically at that point in time too. He's
yeah,
injured gravely at that point, and
yeah,
and
like big
Soundwave
time,
takes
yeah,
him. Yeah, Soundwave takes him with him back to the ship when he tells him not to leave him behind. But as they get aboard Astro Train and they take off, he determines that they need to lose some weight because there's too much
yeah.
on board, and he's not going to
They
make it.
won't make it back on the fuel that he has. So he's all like, "Hey, lose some weight, or we're not gonna make it back to Cybertron." And
Yeah.
then that's when all of them aboard are all like, "It's survival of the fittest." So,
Oh, What's kind of funny, going all the way back to the early cartoon in the first couple of seasons, Starscream is always plotting to take over, right?
Oh
He
yeah,
wants to be the
like
leader of the Decepticons, and he's carrying Megatron to the door, and he's like, "No, Starscream, I still function."
yeah. He's
He's
like,
like,
I still live, and he's like, wanna bet?
yeah, he just lets him go floating out there. They
Yeah.
send, I believe it's the jet. Was it? It was
Oh,
Skywarp.
it was two of the Insecticons, and it was
Was it one jet or two?
it was, I want to say it was one jet. It was the
Okay,
green, and
if it's just one, it was Skywarp, the purple and
yeah,
black.
I think so. So,
Yeah, it was just
but
Skywarp then.
I think it was Skywarp, two of the Insecticons, and then one more that was injected out of there.
Yeah,
And
and I can never think of the Insecticon names or
yeah,
anything to
and then
save my
well,
life.
I remember the first one that went out the door. He was all like, "Don't do this, brothers. I can be repaired." And then they're just like, push him out."
And then they still have a fight in there. We talked about this earlier before we started. They still have a fight between what
Oh yeah,
the
Devastator.
Constructicons.
Okay, my thing is, okay, we're talking about a shuttle. I know,
How do they
I
make
know,
him in there?
I know the inside of a shuttle is decent sized,
It's
but
not giant size.
it's not giant sized. I mean, Devastator like combines and then goes to whoop everybody's butt, and then literally you see Rumble, and he's like, "No way!" And he just
Then shakes him back apart.
yeah, and takes him apart.
Lord. All right, so we put a pretty good bit out there about it, but let me go ahead and read this bit off real quick. This is basically just a little synopsis thing about the movie. It was released on August the 8th in 1986, and it was an animated feature film meant to bridge the gap between season 2 and season 3 of the Transformers cartoon. This wasn't your typical Saturday morning fluff. The movie went full throttle with action, a big soundtrack, um, and then, of course, as we mentioned, one of the most shocking moments in animated movie history, the death of Optimus Prime. The film was produced by Sunbow Productions and Marvel Productions, animated by, uh, I want to say it looks like it's probably pronounced Toei, Toei, Toei
Yeah,
Animation in
yeah,
Japan, and distributed by De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. Uh, and as we said earlier, talking the numbers, the film didn't do very well. It had a budget of $6 million and brought in 5.8. But
yeah.
while it
But
was a disappointment at the box office, Marty, as you well know, a lot of
oh yeah,
80s movies take on a cult classic thing once they hit
and
VHS.
and to tell you the truth, that is a lot of people's favorite. Like cult, I mean, I like cult cartoons. I mean, of of that era. Literally, it's like if anybody if anybody that's our age, if you ask them, they'll tell you right off. They'll tell you basically it's Transformers the movie, then GI Joe the movie, and then heavy metal comes right in, like right in third. So
Yeah. And then you still had more cartoon movies. You had He-Man and She-Ra Secret of the Sword, I think it was called.
yeah,
They did a He-Man and She-Ra Christmas movie. They did a Brave Star movie. Which I don't know. Brave Star never actually hit the theaters. Neither did the He-Man movies. They were for
yeah,
TV and
but
stuff.
but
But
I don't
still,
even think did the GI Joe movie ever air on in the
nope.
theaters?
No, they
Yeah,
broke it off in half-hour segments and treated it like a regular TV series
hmm,
or TV episodes. But then they also put it all together as one big movie for a VHS sale.
yeah, yeah. I
Then you
remember you could
had
buy it
GI
on
Joe,
VHS. That was all together. So
right? You had GI Joe Rise of Serpentor as far as a movie goes. So we had our fair share of fun cartoon movies and everything for sure.
yeah,
Um, but it's funny over the years after the movie left, didn't go well after it hit theater and failed at the theater. it's funny how people, I'm not gonna say everybody did, but a lot of people kind of forgave them for killing off Optimus Prime and kind of embraced the movie for what it was, because
Right.
now we have a whole new generation of Transformers, new people to like and to get used to. And then I don't know how many seasons it went with like Rodimus Prime, and maybe
I
one
wanna
season or so.
I wanna say with Rodimus Prime, I think it was maybe 2 seasons with him, and
Okay.
then they brought Optimus back in, but then that's when they were starting to do the was it the head changers, the Transformers that these people were like in suits, and they would like transform and they would be the head of like the robot. I think that was
I'm not sure I
the
remember.
yeah. I know that was in the later seasons. So it was like right before. I think it was called Transformers Head Changers or something.
At
But
one
it was
point, at one point, I just stopped watching because I had
yeah.
lost interest in where the cartoon was going, and then when it went Beast Wars, I was really out of the picture at that point.
Oh, what's crazy is I watched the whole 3 seasons of Beast Wars when that came out.
Did you?
Dude, that the animation was garbage,
Yeah,
but the storyline was just, I mean, absolutely terrific. So
I couldn't get into it because of the animation. That's the very reason why I couldn't watch it.
was it because of the animation?
Yeah, because of the
Yeah,
animation, I was not into it at all.
yeah. I mean, if they'd have stuck with just regular cartoon animation instead of computer generated, the and we're talking early computer generated, animation, not the stuff that we got today.
Right?
But we're talking early stuff, and you could literally like see like where they were trying to walk up a hill, and the legs are all sideways like this. And it's like, I was like,
Yeah,
come on, that's crazy looking.
yeah, yeah. I just I was not with it at that point, Marty. When it came to Beast Wars, I had to go ahead and drop and just conveniently move on to other things.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, we were still getting, like I said, we were still getting good cartoon stuff. We still had the GI Joe, and the He Man, the Thundercats, and the Brave Stars, and Silverhawks, and all that good stuff. And
yeah.
so,
Well,
I
and you
mean,
can't forget Mask. You
can't
gotta,
forget Mask. Mask also did very well with us back in the day. So definitely did. We definitely had a fun time with that. Let's talk about the cast a little bit. The voice cast. Peter Cullen's everybody's absolute favorite. Does Optimus Prime. He also does Wheeljack. I'm sorry, Ironhide. And he may, I'm not 100% sure. He may have done some others down the road too, or maybe some smaller ones or something. Um, let's see if it
oh,
throws any other.
uh, Scatman Carruthers was
He was Jazz,
Jazz. Yeah,
right? And that was the when he was living, that was his last credit he did while he was living. And one other thing he did was released after his death.
huh.
Um,
Okay.
I was reading that earlier. That was kind of cool. Um, Michael Bell, who is pretty prominent in voiceovers for cartoons, he did some Voltron characters, some GI Joe characters, some of the Super Friends and everything. He's the voice of Prowl. Um, so Prowl might have been the one on board instead of Wheeljack. I
Yeah,
don't see I don't
I
s-
think it might have been. I think it might have been Ironhide, Ratchet, and Prowl that
I just
got
don't
killed
see
off.
Will. I haven't seen Wheeljack's name anywhere on here yet of who was doing his voice or anything. So I can't say for sure that he was a part of that. Jack Angel is the voice of Astro Train. Here we go. Michael Bell did Prowl, Scrapper, Swoop, and the voice of Junkion. That was the thing there toward the end of the
Yeah,
movie where the little Scrap Planet or whatever he was on.
the Scrap Planet.
And I want to bring this guy up because we were just talking about this earlier. Greg Berger, however you pronounce his last name, does Grimlock. We were just talking about, everybody.
Yeah.
We were talking about these three. Is it 3 or 4 they got out right now? 4, isn't it? Yeah, 4. There's 4.
It's Optimus, Grimlock, Megatron, and Bumblebee.
Right.
They've got those 4.
Yes.
The Tycho, the Japanese toy line, that were these deals, man, they just do push-ups and transform and karate kicks and everything
Yeah.
else.
I mean, for those of you who have not seen these things, look them up. It's amazing. And they do everything we would have wanted when we were a kid and then some. They talk, they get the voices of the people that voice the characters in the cartoon. So Greg Berger's on there and you hear him, he's like, me, Grimlock, we king, or
Mhm.
all these different things he says, but you see them transform. I mean, you're talking Optimus as the semi. You suddenly see part of him come out. I guess the hand part touches the floor. It pushes him up. He's up on his feet. His waist part turns around, spins his torso around. Head comes up. He'll strike a pose.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, a
he
fighting pose of all things. I mean, his
yeah,
legs are like spread apart, and then one fist is like this, one fist is drawn back, and I was like, dude, I want one.
got the classic sayings. Autobots roll out.
Yeah.
Autobots transform. Roll out. The one shall stand. One shall fall. Yeah, he says several different things. So those things are the only thing though is that the Megatron is not like your G1 Megatron. He's
No,
like
he's not the gun.
he's the
Yeah,
tank,
he's a tank, like some type of tank.
like
So
something like he might have been on Cybertron or something.
yeah.
So you get that version, but you get the Beetlebug version of Bumblebee, right?
Yes, you do. You get
Yeah,
the Volkswagen, you get the Bug,
and then of
so
course Grimlock is the
the T-Rex.
T-Rex and all. So I definitely wanted to bring him up. Susan Blue was the voice of RC. She is one of the only, if not the only, female voiceover artist that was in Transformers, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
RC, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
RC. And then you got Arthur Berghart. He did quite a few things back in the day. He's the voice of Devastator. Corey Burton did Spike and Brawn and Shockwave. Roger Carmel did Cyclonus. Then it says Quintesson Leader.
And then the big name people, you had like Orson Welles as Unicron, and yeah,
Right.
and then Judd Nelson as Hot Rod. So
Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime.
yeah,
Yep. Casey Kasem was in there for a little bit as Cliff Jumper.
yeah.
Not that Cliff Jumper is one of the, I mean, not there that much, but um,
Well, and then the big,
and speaking of,
and then the big man right here. Yeah.
if you're listening, you can't see it, but if you're watching, you can see Marty's shirt. He's got one of my favorite shirts I used to have as well. It's a Spock showing his little Vulcan gang sign saying "Trek yourself or you wreck yourself." It's an
Mm-hmm.
awesome shirt. Leonard Nimoy did the voice of Galvatron, which is
Yep.
Megatron reinvented, and Megatron was still done traditionally by why can't I say his name right now? Frank Welker. Man,
Yeah.
it's been in every single thing under the moon that you
Mm-hmm.
ever seen or heard, and then some extra. Megatron, Soundwave, Rumble, Frenzy, Ravage, Wheelie, Junkion. Did you talk about him doing stuff like Fred from Scooby Doo? He's
Mm-hmm.
done some things, I think, with the Flintstones. He did what was it? I just watched Space Camp. He was the voice of the little robot in Space Camp.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Um, and then Orson Welles. This is the last thing he ever did, as what was Unicron. So Robert Stack was the last well-known name at the time. He played Ultra Magnus. And Neil Ross brought up a good point when he was here with us. The one thing that they were all kind of unhappy about at the time. I mean, he was happy that they had him come on and do some of his characters, and then there's the new one there, I guess, for Springer one. But you lose so many of the old voices,
Yeah,
and they didn't get anybody else that was a voiceover artist to employ to do things for like Galvatron and Hot Rod, Optimus Prime, and Blur, and things
yeah.
of that nature. They brought in big name stars.
They picked like big name people instead of just normal voiceover actors.
Yeah, but
So
the big thing is they wanted some name recognition going into it, because a lot of the voiceover actors really weren't well known unless you were just a fan. I mean, a big
no,
fan
yeah,
of the animation and what was going on. Most kids, though, they just knew there was a voice to the character. They didn't care. They didn't know or
exactly.
care who it was.
They were more just about what's on the screen. So
Look, I'm not gonna lie. Back in that day, I had no idea who Frank Welker. Well, let me rephrase this. I had no idea who Peter Weller.
Peter
Weller.
Cullen.
Oh my God, people! I am getting old and
It's,
scatterbrained. I
it's
am
all
just
P's.
Lord. Oh, Peter Cullen. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. I did not know who he was at the time or anything. Frank Welker, however, I was, Scooby Doo's my thing. That's my all time favorite cartoon. So every time I'd watch Scooby Doo, you would see his name in the credits as it's going off at the end. You'd see Frank Welker's name up there. So you knew he was a part of that, just like Casey Kasem was. You'd know that. You'd see
Right.
those two names all the time. So I just got used to seeing them. And that's the only reason why I knew their names and who they were. But
Yeah, but no kid watched through the credits. They were like,
no kid
after the
really,
show was off, their dad was calling them to go do something outside, or
right?
they had to do chores around the house. I mean, it's like,
Once the cartoon was over, you promised, just wait till the cartoon's over. I'll do it. I promise. Right when it's
yeah,
done,
exactly.
I'll take the garbage out. I'll clean my room. Do my homework. Let's talk toys. I know you. I know you were a very big fan of the toys.
Uh-huh.
Just like me when it comes to all these other things over the years we've collected and done. Uh, do you remember what your first Transformer was?
Very first Transformer. Uh, I had a lot of the smaller stuff before I got any of the bigger stuff.
Yeah, same here.
So, the Grand Prix.
Mirage.
Yeah, yeah, Mirage. Yeah, I had a Mirage, and I had the smaller version of Mirage, the red the red one. That was it was like you could rub the front of the grill where the and the Autobot symbol would like appear with the heat.
But it's a smaller Formula One car like Mirage
Yeah, it
was?
was a smaller Formula One car, and it was red.
Man, I wish I could. Okay, I don't remember that one then. I remember
Uh,
Mirage for sure, though.
I had a Mirage, and then I had that one, and then I had I really the thing is when I bought Ironhide, and I was like, oh man, Ironhide's gonna look super awesome. The
It was
head's gonna be
terrible.
there. And when I got this thing and I transformed it, I was like, man, this thing is a piece of work. I mean, it was like,
It's the same thing for Ratchet. They were the exact same toy, different
yeah,
look.
yeah,
So,
just
yeah,
different color.
it was terrible. They were terrible. I remember some of my first ones were the mini bots. I had the Cliff Jumper and Bumblebee. I had
Yeah, I had the Bumblebee.
Huffer or Huffy, whatever its name was. I forget. I had Brawn. Um, and then I started getting some of the bigger ones. I had like Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. I had Optimus Prime, but I never got.
I had a Jazz at one time, and that was pretty cool. And
Yeah, no, I always.
he actually looked like what he was supposed to look like.
Yeah, I always wanted Jazz and Wheeljack and all them, but I never got a hold of them though. You got whatever your parents got you basically at the time, and then I
Yeah.
had an allowance. I bought some with allowance, but it would have taken me forever to save up to get some of the bigger ones that I wanted. So I was buying the mini bots. I had a ton of mini bots.
Me too. But
I mean,
my two favorites that I had, and I think I actually got them with my own money because I was working a little bit at 13, and I got me an Optimus and I got me a Megatron. I got the I got
the
the
pistol,
gun
the gun.
and I got the yeah.
My two favorites I got them both for Christmas. 2 years, like a year apart, back to back years. Optimus I got first, and I played with Optimus Prime like forever. It seemed like the second year I got Metroplex, and I loved that one.
Mm,
Metroplex was the one that's the robot, and then it turns into the battle station in the city.
yeah.
I don't know if you,
The Autobot City?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
It
was
had it
what
had this
was
it had this like a city look. Then it had this like a battle ready look to it of some sort, and
yeah,
then it was
yeah,
just a robot.
with the guns being out and everything.
Yeah, yeah. But I never had any really big Decepticons. I mean, I had like Thunder. I had Thundercracker for a jet. Never got Starscream. Never got a Jetfire. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
All right, now I'm back. Okay.
Okay. You must
Uh,
have a
well, technical difficulties.
little hiccup in your connection.
Hmm. But what was that one Transformer that was an Autobot that he was on like a round track and
Omega Supreme.
then huh?
Omega Supreme.
Yeah, okay, Mega Supreme, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And then when he transformed him, he was all like part of the track was up here on his back and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it.
I had one of those and that was pretty cool.
I
But
did always want Jetfire. I never got Jetfire. I thought that would have been cool.
yeah, but man, Jetfire was a ripoff of Robotech.
I
You
know.
ever notice that?
Yeah.
I was like, man, this crazy.
Yeah. I definitely seen that. I remember that. It's all good though.
Hmm.
The Transformers themselves, the toy line, it says the toy line was first released in '84 by Hasbro, but it was adapted from Japanese toy lines like Diaclone and Microchange. The cartoon itself, if you remember, they used to describe the cartoon basically as a half-hour toy commercial.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah.
remember that or not, but that's what they always called it. But did you really care? I didn't.
No,
It was a
me
really
neither.
it was a really
But
fun
I mean,
cartoon to watch. I mean,
and the thing is, it was early Japanese cartoon. I mean, for for me, it was that and Voltron. Voltron was heavy Japanese, and Star Blazer. Star Blazer was very heavy Japanese, and it was like early '80s. Like I want to say it was like maybe even '80 or '81 when Star Blazer came out, but I mean that was heavily influenced by the Japanese, just because of where the story took place. So I mean Tokyo gets nuked. I mean that's the very first episode. So I mean
yep. Then the cartoon when it came out ran from '84 to '87 with 4 seasons, 98 total episodes. So it's kind of a mashup of sci-fi battles, character drama, and some little cheesy '80s humor
yeah
thrown in
yeah
there in between a little bit. Um, and the animation wasn't always great, but the stories and the characters were always
oh
something
yeah
we were
that's
very much
and
into.
and the thing is I think a lot of kids growing up I really paid a lot of attention to like the animation. The animation I really loved, but the storylines was always what drew me in. It
Hmm.
was always it was always the fights that between the Decepticons and the Autobots, and then even some of the even the heartfelt moments that you had between Spike and Bumblebee and his dad, and so I mean, it was always he always got that combination of like a little bit of everything.
Right.
So
No, you're right. And in the movie, when the movie came out, it kind of served as a pivot point where they were, like we discussed earlier, introducing new toys, basically.
mhm,
New characters meant new toys, which means kids are gonna want these for their collection as well. You know, you still had your Optimus Prime, but now you can go and buy a Rodimus Prime or an Ultra
Rodimus
Magnus,
Prime, yeah.
you
Or
know.
and I even had the I think that was literally one of my last Transformers that I bought was you remember the motorcycle from the Junk Planet, the Junkion?
Yeah.
I actually had one of those.
Did you
I think
really?
that was my last Transformer that I bought.
Well,
So,
that's cool. That's cool. Did you ever get a Galvatron since you had a Megatron?
no, I never. I mean, I always saw it on the shelf, but I was a little older then, and it was like I had like more things. It was like I still. I mean, even well, not even today, but back then, if I were to buy something. I would have, just kind of like left it in the package or, I mean, I I didn't really buy a lot of the Transformer toys after the movie, except for I did get that motorcycle one because I mean that one was really I really liked the look of it when it transformed. I was like, dude, this thing's pretty badass.
I didn't have anything after um the movie at all. Anything from the movie or after? Nope, I take it back. I think now was there a Transformer that was not a Beast War Transformer that was like a bull?
Yeah, yeah, he was part of the Decepticons. He he was part of the next gen Transformers cartoon. The during the Galvatron and Rodimus Prime era, and they were the animal cons. I think that's what they called them.
Something like that.
Yeah,
And I did
but
have that.
yeah,
And
but they
one of the cars for the
one of the
Decepticons,
Stunticons.
one of the
Yeah,
Stunticons, yes, had
yeah.
one of them. I almost forgot about them, but yeah, that was one of the last ones. The last Christmas, I think I received toys on.
Hmm.
I got the bull, whatever it was called, one of the Stunticons, and 3 masked vehicles.
Yeah.
And those 3, this is stuff I got from my father that year for Christmas. I remember those. Those stand out, especially the masked vehicles that I had. So, but yeah, I'd almost forgotten about that. I didn't think I had any of them like that anymore, but I was getting more into other stuff. I was always bigger into GI Joe toys than I was
Yeah.
anything else. I had
Yeah.
very few Masters of the Universe. I had a few wrestling toys. I probably had the most of GI Joe, more than as far as what I had, and then second would have been Transformers for me.
But I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, the Transformer toys was really cool. The whole concept of vehicle to robot.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really, if it's kind of like you're hardwired. You know, you're you see the GI Joe, vehicles, and then you see the Transformers vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're looking back and forth, and you're like, you go for that GI Joe before you go for the Transformers because it's almost like that whole God bless America, I mean,
Well, the GI
yeah,
Joes were more fun for me to play with. I mean, because I had a good friend next door to me where I lived. We lived in an apartment complex at the time, and he would get his GI Joe stuff together. I'd get my GI Joe stuff together, and we would get there in the back porch in the little yard area behind us, and we would set them up in strategic places, right? And we would take the little missiles that came with the vehicles and stuff, and we would toss them at wherever the. So if it hits your man or your vehicle,
Yeah.
whatever,
Oh,
you
you're blown up.
you got to take it out. It comes off the field of play, and
Yeah.
then until whoever is the last person standing won the match. That's how we did it. So that was always pretty fun.
Well, my thing was it was it was always Star Wars over anything. But I'm a I'm, I'm a big sci-fi nut. You see my Trek shirt. I mean, Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, those are my kind of like. I mean, but Star Trek never had any toys, but Star Wars did,
Yeah,
and I had a lot of Star Wars toys.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong. I had Transformer toys and I had GI Joe toys. I mean, I even had the I want to say a couple of my GI Joe toys, vehicles wise. I had the that sea shark, the shark thing. Yeah, I had the submarine with the diver, or the guy on the looked like he was in a big astronaut suit.
right.
But and then I even had the was it the F-14,
The Ace
the
Jet.
Tomcat? Wasn't it the Tomcat?
There was an Ace Jet and a Tomcat, both, I think. Just like
Yeah,
when it come to Cobra, they had the Rattler and the Night Raven.
yeah. I
So
want it was definitely the GI Joe, the Tom. I think the F-14 or F-16 or whatever that was. It had the pilot with it, and it had like a crap load of missiles underneath it. It was like that's all you saw underneath the bottom of the plane was just missile, 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 missile.
So now I mean, while talking about all these toys is fun and everything, we've yet to talk to touch on Unicron in the
Uh,
movie. Yeah, one of the whole point of the movie was that Unicron was coming to destroy Cybertron and any other planet in its way. It was a planet devouring transformer,
well, I mean,
basically.
literally at the very beginning of the movie, you see Unicron cruise up on this one planet, and it was a planet full of like robotic life, and it just like these big two hooks come out like this, and it digs into the planet, and it just starts engulfing the thing, just
Yeah,
like gobbling it up.
yeah.
So
And Unicron is also the reason why we have a reimagined Megatron and
yeah, and what
Skywarp
was
and
it?
everything.
Yeah,
He changes him into Galvatron, and he makes the other ones into Cyclonus, and
and then
um,
the sweeps. I think that's what they were called, the sweeps.
I know what was it, Cyclonus that had his well, I think he called it the fleet, Cyclonus and his fleet.
Yeah, it was
Um,
it
because you had like
was Galvatron,
the two
Cyclonus.
Insecticons,
Yeah,
the two Insecticons and the one plane. The plane got turned
it,
into Cyclonus, and then the
uh,
Insecticons and one other thing got turned into his fleet
yeah.
that were fighting for him.
And then Unicron was all like, he was all like, and here's your ship to go back to Cybertron, and he's all like, find the Matrix, destroy the Matrix.
And it
Yeah,
doesn't start. It doesn't start with Hot Rod. It starts with Ultra Magnus.
yeah, yeah.
Ultra
Because
Magnus has the
because
Matrix at first.
basically Optimus is literally dying on the table, and then he looks over at Ultra Magnus and he says, the Matrix of leadership will go to you, old friend. And then Ultra Magnus was like, I'm not worthy. I'm just a soldier. And then that's when Optimus says, I was just a soldier myself when I got it. And then
But
he was basically saying that he wasn't worthy of it neither. But
and
you
his
know,
final words, I believe, were something about use the Matrix to bring light to
yeah,
our darkest times.
yeah,
I think
bring the light to our darkest hour.
to our
So
darkest hour, yes. And then when Ultra Magnus ends up losing the Matrix, it's Hot Rod that gets it back, and as it turned out the whole time, Hot Rod is the one it should have went to that it was supposed to go to anyway.
Yeah.
He's the one that
Well, I
uses
mean,
the
you kind
Matrix.
you kind of noticed it, like literally when Optimus dies, and the Matrix of leadership rolls out of his hand, and then Hot Rod reaches down, and he grabs it before it hits the floor, and then all of a sudden you see this big, bright, shiny light just engulf him and everything, and then it's like, okay, the shit's. I mean, sorry, it's supposed to go to.
Beep.
Yeah.
It's all good. Travis slips up sometimes here and there. I believe I changed the status of the show anyway. I took it off the family setting and just put it on
Oh,
the
okay.
others. So
Well, I'm not gonna drop no F bomb on you.
I mean,
That just ain't my style.
nobody else usually does either. But I mean, if it does happen, I'm still safe with the rating of the show and everything.
No.
But the whole thing with Ultra Magnus, not Ultra Magnus. I'm sorry, Hot Rod and Unicron, is that when he uses the Matrix, that's what
Mhm.
pretty much takes out Unicron at that point, was it not?
Yeah, yeah, because it's literally like he's got the Matrix in his hands, and he puts his fingers in the pieces and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then he opens it up, and he's raising it, and he's like, "Let this, light our darkest hour,"
Right.
and then he opens it up. And then that's when all hell breaks loose on Unicron, and he starts exploding from the inside.
Exactly. Did I ever send you yes, I sent you the picture of the
Oh,
toy.
the fat Unicron.
What were they thinking?
You need to put that up. You need to put that up on the little window over here. Like, just show everybody the picture of.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me see if I can get this. Let me see. Hold up. It's gonna take me a minute to get to the picture again. I forget where I put it. I think it's in my downloads folder here, but Anyway, I don't know what. Nope, I don't have it. I must have got rid of it.
Oh
Oh
man.
man, I might have to look. I tell you what, everybody, I will look up the picture again. I'll put it on the Instagram account. Look on the Instagram account. If you're not following us there, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Anyway, Retro Life for you, and I'll put it up there for you to see. It's definitely a sight to see. Well,
Yeah.
it looks like a
So what
fat,
did
but look,
what did
it
you
looks like
call
a
it?
fat. It looks like a fat bumblebee.
No, no, you called him. And when you sent it to me, you said it was a bear belly unicorn.
Beer beer belly Unicron. Oh my god. Oh hey, yeah, there we go. Hold on. You gave me an idea. I can still get to it because I sent it to you. All you gotta do is go in here to your messenger, scroll up, and I will have it in just a minute. So tell me about something else while I'm looking this up. So we can no dead
Mm.
air.
Oh, I definitely. I thought I thought the part was hilarious when when Unicron's literally like attacking, getting ready to attack Cybertron, and all of a sudden his belly starts rumbling like he's fighting indigestion or something.
Right.
and then it goes and then it goes to you see the Transformers, the Autobots are running for their lives as those daggum hook things are starting to like come up the walls and trying to grab them and everything. I was like, that whole part had me laughing.
I guess he should have had him some Pepto, right?
Mm,
All right. Let's see here. Can I share it as a picture? Let's see, not in that way.
that and the what was it, they call them the quintessons, where they were all like where they were on that planet, and it was Hot Rod and Cup and that that one thing was all like guilty or innocent, and then the head spins around, innocent, and they had to drop them off into the with the sharks are coming. So I was
Yeah.
like, that whole part was messed up.
I don't guess it mattered what you were. You were dropping off in there either way it goes.
It didn't matter. It was
Yeah.
like guilty or innocent. You're gonna die.
Here we go. Window. All right. So here we have the beer belly Unicron.
Oh, there he is, the
Yes.
beer belly
You
Unicron.
gotta love it, right? I
Yeah,
mean, look at that thing. It's a big old round circle. I told you it's almost like a little fat bumblebee almost. I mean,
yeah,
so
yeah,
he's basically a mini Unicron. I guess he transforms probably back into the little shape of the planet, a little round
yeah.
planet,
He does.
and then goes from there. But that was probably the worst concept, I think, for a Transformer thing that they ever come out with.
Yeah,
So I'm not big. I wasn't too big on that. Anyway, uh,
yeah. But that's hilarious. So,
yeah, yeah. That was something else. So for those of you who are listening, if you want to get a good look at it, either I'll put it on the Instagram still. But if you go to YouTube, you can check out our videos there on YouTube as well, and you'll see
mhm.
it on there as we're talking. The I want to go ahead and get in a couple quick things. We're 50 minutes in, so I want to get to a couple of quick things here. The soundtrack was kind of well, for a cartoon movie, pretty doggone good, I guess. I mean, we
Yeah,
had Stan
yeah.
Bush's epic anthem, "The Touch," which originated from it was inspired by a saying in the movie Iron Eagle, but it was made for the movie Cobra. It wasn't
Huh.
really made for this originally,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. But it it kind of fits a little bit, I mean, it's not that
Oh yeah.
bad.
I mean, like the part when the music's playing, and you see Optimus like literally like he just like they're blasting at the bottom of the truck, and literally it's like you see him transform, and as soon as he's transforming, you see this big explosion in the background,
Yeah,
and he's like flying through the air, just blasting these Decepticons,
right.
and before he even hits the ground,
He's already
and
taken
then
out three of
he
them,
hits the
basically.
ground, and then he's still just gunning them down. I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, that whole, just the music part and that whole scene, just and even I even like the I can't remember what music they were playing. Like when Daniel and Hot Rod were like getting ready to when they're talking about the shuttle, getting ready to land, and then there was a song that they were playing right there because you see Daniel jump on the jet board and then
Yeah,
he starts to take off,
right.
and then he hits that rock, and then Hot Rod's like right there behind him and grabs him, and then literally like pulls him in and then transforms into the car and then like takes off.
Didn't they
So
also have a Weird Al song on there, "Dare to Be Stupid"?
yeah, Dare to Be Stupid. That was on the Junk Planet.
Right.
So
Crazy. Orson Welles reportedly didn't even know what this movie was about. He described his character as a toy that eats other toys.
that's funny.
That's crazy. The movie was originally rated PG, mostly due to intense violence and a few borderline swear words. This as far as
Yeah, there was two lines that had shit
mhm,
and damn it. It
yep,
was it was when Spike sees Unicron coming and is about to eat the one of the Cybertron moon planets,
right.
and he's all like shit, what are we gonna do? And then the other part had to been with Ultra Magnus when they're on the junk planet, and he's trying to pull the Matrix apart, and he's like, come on, damn it, and it's like, yeah, I
Uh,
was like, okay.
so I don't know if you remember about the GI Joe movie, but the death of Optimus Prime was so traumatic for kids back then that it led Hasbro to rethink killing off Duke in the GI Joe the movie. He ended up
Yeah.
surviving thanks to fan backlash, but I think he was in a coma or something.
Yep.
So
And then
that
I think at the very end of the movie, he wakes up out of the coma or something. But
I think so, but they were going to kill him off as well. Uh,
yeah,
in Japan, the movie wasn't released until 1990, 4 years later.
what? Get out of there.
That's kind of sad. They had to wait all that
Yeah.
time, but they already knew Optimus was dead. They had to wait and watch it after that. All right, so I'm gonna throw a couple of questions at you here for discussion before we leave tonight. So basically, where do you remember first watching this? Did you go to the theater or was it on VHS? And how did you react to Optimus Prime's death?
See, I did not go to the theater to see it. I saw it at home. It was on VHS. Part of my money that I got for Christmas that year, I literally went out and bought the VHS. This was going to be in my collection,
Mm-hmm.
and so I sit down, I put it in, I'm watching it, and by that time, my dad had already purchased like one of those big kind of box TVs. So it was a decent sized TV I'm watching it on. So I'm just sitting on the couch and watching. And it was like when I first see, Megatron and them, like blow a hole into the ship and then get on and then start blasting all the Autobots. I'm looking at it, I'm like, what is going on? Oh, they're killing off all my favorite Autobots. But I kid you not, like when Optimus is on the operating table, and then Perceptor is like standing over him, and he says he's basically like, there's nothing else I can do. He's dying, and and then Daniel's like holding on to his hand and saying, "You can't die, Optimus. You can't." And then I man, it was just like tears are just
Big old
just
crocodile
rolling
tears.
down my face. I'm like, I can't believe they're doing this. And
I
right,
think
and I'm
I
about
think we were all like that at that point, at that
and I'm
age, you know.
and hey, and I'm about to give up on myself. I watched this movie 4 weeks ago, and I watched that same part, and I kid you not, I started to tear up. I mean,
Still hits
literally,
hard.
it still hit hard. I was like, man,
Do you think that the film holds up today in terms of animation and story?
oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
Story wise, yes. The animation's a bit different though, and I prefer the type of animation, the style of animation back then versus now. I made this reference when they did the new He-Man Revolutions and
yeah,
stuff like
like
that.
the stuff off of Netflix, yeah,
Yeah, the
but
animation was not the same filmation that the filmation stuff they did,
yeah,
but it's meant to be more updated and with what we got now. But I still prefer the older stuff, and I think when I watched this movie the other day, the Transformers movie again, I watched it again the other day before you started doing this. Um, I the animation still stands out for me as being the better style of animation. Maybe it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
me being stuck in that era or something of everything and liking that more than stuff, but I just think it stands out well.
Well, I mean, that was literally like the first genuine, I want to say like Japanese, like early animation. And for me, the Japanese early animation, I mean, that was my ticket right there. I mean, anything that had that kind of like squared look in the eye, and just a strong jawline. I mean, just Voltron, Star Blazer, those shows, and like even the Gen 1 Transformers was done by early Japanese animation. So I mean, that was my go-to.
Do you feel that Hot Rod was a worthy successor to Optimus Prime, or was Rodimus Prime kind of a letdown overall?
Uh, I think we all got our answer on that one when Optimus came back from the dead.
Fans just never really accepted him,
No,
as
I mean,
being the
no.
new Optimus, as being
Yeah.
the new leader.
No.
I mean, it didn't matter that his vehicle look changed to something bigger and
Yeah,
better.
I mean,
He was more fun as Hot Rod.
he went from a cool looking hot rod car to a dumb garbage truck.
Yeah. And
So
and
how
and the
did, how did
fans,
that happen?
I don't know, but the fans always thought, in my opinion, because I know I did, that he was more loved as just the hot rod car and his, the name Hot Rod, because we really like the cars like the Side Swipe and Sunstreaker and
Hmm.
the Wheeljack and Prowl and Jazz and all the fancier type cars. And
Yeah.
his character was probably more fun for us too. He was
Okay,
all
now
happy go
now
lucky and
I'm about to stray off the subject for a minute. Okay. Now you have seen the new Transformers Rise of the Beast, right? Have you seen that maybe? The newest one?
oh yeah, where they incorporated the Beast Wars stuff into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. When did Mirage become a Porsche
yeah.
and not
Well,
Jazz being a Porsche?
I
So
mean, if you think about it, you can't really. I mean, Mirage could have been something else, but you couldn't have him be a Formula One race car driving up and down the roads.
yeah, yeah, true, but I mean, it could have been something else besides,
Right,
the
right. No,
Porsche.
you're right about that. I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
But I don't.
that was kind of like I was
You
sitting there and I was kind of like, man, that ain't right. That's supposed to
see,
be Jazz.
you actually lead me up to my. You actually lead me up to my final discussion question when you bring that up. Um, so Transformers the movie, we got that, we loved it. And did you ever think in a million years you would get a live action Transformers? And when the first one came out, what was your feelings and your thoughts on when you first seen like Optimus Prime pull up and transform?
Oh, dude, it was incredible. Like like the whole scene, the whole scene where he literally comes zooming out of the alley
Mm-hmm.
and literally just like arms are starting to come out and then he's standing up and the head's starting to come up and then the grills
Mm-hmm.
just doing whatever it's doing. You see all these gears moving and the
Right.
wheels are like chucking itself on the. I was like, dude, it's just absolutely amazing.
So
I
look,
mean,
if they can do that with Transformers, they better not mess up Voltron, because they say that Henry Cavill is
yeah, that's what
they're
I've been
already
hearing too.
either
So,
filming it or already filmed one or the other, and it's
but
and it's the Lions like it should be.
yeah, but the thing is, have you seen some of the I don't know if it's if
I've
it's
seen some of the
fake.
fan. I've
Have
seen
you
some of
seen
the
some of
fan.
the fan made stuff?
Yeah, fan made
I was
AI
like,
stuff.
what's with the mane
Yeah, no, that's
around
just
the head of the? I'm like,
it's just an AI thing.
they've never had mane. I mean, it just looks weird. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like, but if they do it right, I will go see it.
yeah. The
I
the the,
mean,
the, the whole the whole
but
main thing is just somebody trying to be creative with AI to create a neat picture, and AI hears lion, and what's the first thing you think of with a lion? Lion's mane.
yeah,
So they they
yeah.
they put that it incorporates it, even though there's not one there. It incorporates that on there to it.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question.
What?
Out of all the Transformer movies, like one of your favorite, fight scenes between Optimus and whoever he was fighting. What was one of your favorites?
Man, of the live action,
Yeah, the live action.
and it's got to be in the first one where Optimus and Megatron first face off in the first one, because it was such a big deal to me when that came out. Like you said, it was amazing watching them transform and watching them on the big screen and what they were doing and being all live action and stuff. So to see that going on, to me, is probably the best. And anything that happened between them after that, I've already seen it because I saw it in the first one. There's nothing more spectacular than the first one I've seen. But
I
then
mean,
again, is the fight that Optimus has. I don't think it's Megatron, or it might have been Mega. Is that the one where he's like he's spinning around? He's got the blade coming out of his hand, and he stabs into him, and he rips his head off his body or something.
yeah,
Or
literally, like it's in the second Transformers movie. It's
oh, it's the one where
Revenge of the Fallen.
it's the one where he gets dropped out of the plane and he lands and
Yeah,
rolls and
yeah,
transforms and comes.
yeah. That
Okay,
whole
that's the
scene.
fight. That's the fight right there.
I, that is my all-time favorite. I mean, don't get me wrong. The part where Sam and Optimus and Megatron are like all right there on the ground. That whole fight, when he even says it, one shall stand, one shall fall, and he's like, Sam, get behind me,
Yeah.
and then they're literally like kicking each other's ass. I mean, pieces of metal are flying off of them, and then I'm just like I'm glued to the screen. But man, that scene at the beginning of Revenge of the Fallen, or he parachutes out the airplane and then literally like right before he hits the ground, he releases the cords on the parachute and transforms. And you can see when he hits, it's like sparks are flying and the tires are moving. And he comes rolling right up on that Decepticon and transforms and puts that blade like right through his face and
Right.
starts riding him down the damn highway.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that is cool as hell.
That was great. That was great. All right, we gotta start wrapping things up. We already pushed over an hour a little bit, but we'll be all right though. Before we go, I do want to read this off real quick. I'm always telling everybody, um, and I'll say it about this now. Email us at retrolifeforyou@gmail.com and let us know, who were your favorite Autobots and Decepticons. Did you have a favorite? Were you pro Autobot? Were you pro Decepticon? What was your favorite live action film? Just let us know your thoughts on Transformers, cartoons, toys, movies, and everything. Um, we just did an episode recently on Val Kilmer, on our favorite Val Kilmer 80s and 90s movies. And we had someone write us, Aaron Fuller. Aaron, if you're listening, thanks for, listening to our show and everything and saying the nice things you did. But he says, great episode on Val Kilmer. My favorite role he played was Doc Holliday, followed closely by the role in Thunderheart, which was a great movie also.
Yeah.
I think his most underrated role was Thunderheart. And thanks for making an awesome episode. So thanks a lot, Aaron, for emailing that to me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot when people let us know that they're listening and what they think about the episodes that we've done and
Oh, I
everything.
was also gonna say, he was also really good in the movie The Saint with
Yes,
Elizabeth Shue.
I believe that was I
So,
believe that was one of Travis's picks. Was the Saint? I think was one of his, and I think he took that one. But any closing thoughts before I close us out here on the Transformers movie?
another really good scene out of the cartoon movie that I really liked. I thought it was kind of crazy, but it's where it's, it's literally where all of them are riding out of Unicron's like eye. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you see the shattering of the eye, and then all of them are like in their vehicle mode, and they're like going into space. And I was kind of like, okay, now they're in their vehicle mode, and they're riding into space. Now where are they planning on going? So
We're planning to go where no man has gone before.
gone before.
All right. All right. Transformers the movie was not just a toy commercial. It was a bold and emotional and action packed adventure that dared to break the rules. It's still talked about today because it didn't play it safe, and for that, we salute it. So, thanks for tuning in to Retro Life for You. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review and share with your fellow retro nerds. And remember,
Autobots, Roll